I think we can probably get going. My name is Michael Burrows. I run the client marketing department here at Symphonic. Been here for just under a year. And the team over here is a team of 5, including myself. And then we integrate also with, I guess a team of 6, including myself. And then we integrate with the client marketing team or with the corporate marketing team as well to kind of, bring your releases and information about them over to the surfaces that Symphonic runs as well. And then we're also pretty tightly knit in with the client management team on projects that do have that sort of support here at Symphonic. So I thought maybe, the best way to get started here would be to just sort of let you know kind of how our department runs, what we do, talk a little bit about, what kind of services are available. If you have not already been through the website that's got those services shown, we can kind of break down the bullets of what each one entails and kind of how we believe they help. And then I'm open for any questions y'all have. And I'm kind of looking at this comments stream over here on the side, which doesn't seem to automatically roll the most recent ones. Maybe that's so I can keep track of old questions without skipping them over. But let's just start there. So like I said, my name is Michael Burrows. I come from a handful of years over in the major label system, as well as some management work here down in Nashville. I'm located in Nashville, Tennessee. Was in Brooklyn for about 11 years before that, in Boston for 7 before that. And, as I said, some major label digital marketing and creative jobs. I also ran a freelance graphic design and video editing company before coming on over here. And so I have a team here that is all over the map. We've got a representative in Miami, representative in New York, another representative here in Nashville, one in Bogota, Colombia, and then another team member who is part on my team and also part in the corporate marketing side, who works out of the Tampa office as well. So spread everywhere so that we can have boots on the ground in all the fun places where our artists are habitating and having events and stuff once events come back to our world. And so what my team does is it's a sort of two hat team here. We are both the marketing team for the company, and then we are also the folks that manage the DSP relationships. So your Spotify, your Apple, your Amazon, your Deezer, your Pandora, AudioMac, everything. We handle the relationships there, whether it's looking for features and opportunities, whether it's just being abreast of all the latest developments that are coming down from them in terms of what opportunities there are for you and your releases at each of the partners. And so what I think we do quite well is kind of really play that synergy together super well. The fact of the matter, which you all know because you've been trying to do it, is that there are at least 40,000 pieces of content dropping at any one of the DSPs any given day. And so getting your release seen by anyone at all is a constant challenge. And that's the challenge we're after every day here. What I think we do pretty well is to keep an eye on the marketing side of things, right? We know that there is so much happening there that the attention span is very thin, and you need to have something going on for them to even take a look at the release, right? It can be as fantastic a piece of music as you've ever put out, but if there's no presence, if there's no happening, if there's no noise around that off platform, there's very little chance that my team and I would be able to get you any sort of visibility on that platform. So, some of what we try to do is help you create and engage a kind of integrated marketing approach that doesn't just have to do with the playlisting, right? We hear constantly everyone say playlisting is not a marketing strategy. Well, absolutely, but then what is, right? The environment here on how you're making money off of your music and where your music's getting its attention has changed dramatically in the last decade, right? And so the attention is now in much larger ways being paid to the DSPs, and that's good. That's it is what it is. But how do we make that noise for you? And so when we look at the whole, offering, the group of tactics you can implement to get that attention at any DSP, what do those plans look like? We'll go through I wish I was able to share my screen and come back and forth, but so far, unless anyone can tell me here in these comments, I cannot see how I would go back and forth between screen share and camera. And I don't want to leave you without my handsome face, so we'll stick to that. I'll just walk through the website a little bit sort of on my screen over here, and you can pull it up as well. I'll put it in the comments so you can see it. Um, I think we talk about it a lot over here, and one of the main things that I try to reinforce is the way we look at streaming, the way we look at streaming promotions, the way we look at playlisting, the way we look at extra visibility at a DSP. And too often we're not seeing it the way that it reflects the industry that was, right? The industry that was and still is, but just isn't as prevalent. Record stores, retailers, the face-to-face brick and mortar purchasing that people still do. To me, playlisting should be viewed as the end cap, right? Or the listening stations, or the feature wall in a record store, a local record store, where your music is up there. It's getting extra visibility there because they've put it up there, but no record store owner, unless he's your uncle, is going to put your record in the listening wall unless there's some reason to do so, right? And so are you playing a local festival? Are you, advertising? Is there appearance on a TV show, even if it's local and small, cable access, whatever it is? What other things are you doing that make it worth that curator's time to put you on that playlist, right? Makes it worth that record store owner's time to put you up on the wall of local and important new releases. And so you have to come to the table. We have to come to the table with you and say something about your music other than, man, it's great. It's a really good release and you should listen to these folks. Even more than just, it's a really good release and they already have 27,000 monthly listeners on the platform. That's great. But it's just simply not enough. And so, the marketing strategy that we put together tries to engage as many different aspects as possible, right? A fully integrated marketing approach, which means, are you out there talking to partners that can create a filter for Instagram or TikTok for your song? Are you talking to influencers that might create content around your song on any one of the given platforms that's happening at right now? Do you have a tree of evangelists in social media who are out there talking about the track, whether they're featured on it, whether they've remixed it, whether they've played in the band before, whether they have touring history with you? What is the full spectrum of evangelists that are out there in social media that can be making the noise for you? What does the content schedule look like, right? Are there videos? If there are, do you have small cut up versions of them for, the bite-sized consumable stuff we like to see out in social media? Is there a vertical version for your Instagram? What does all of that look like? And are those videos coming out day and date with the release? And if not, are they a lyric video and an official video and maybe just a visualizer? And have you thought about all the content that can be surrounding your release to help make as much noise as possible? What does that calendar look like? And is it strategic rather than just a flood of information and content at one point? Have you thought about how it kind of schedules out along the way? Are you spending money in digital advertising? We've got some in-house digital advertising here on our team that you can bring a budget to us, and we'll run across all platforms that you're interested in and bring some to the table that you probably haven't really dabbled in before or aren't super familiar with before. And then what we also do real well here is we have a great, I say Rolodex. People don't use the term Rolodex anymore, but we've got a great, hub of partners that we can bring to the table for you to converse with, whether it's PR and publicity support, radio promotion support, if it's the right place, the influencer companies that I mentioned before. If you don't want to work with our team in a marketing capacity, we have a great list of indie digital marketers that we can connect you to and engage in that sort of support. And then, kind of at the seat of it, at the root of it is, what are you doing yourself every day to promote this music? Are you socially active? If so, what platforms are the best for you? Where are you most comfortable? Even though you really ought to be out on as many platforms as possible socially, syndicating those posts everywhere because you want to meet the consumer where they are, where is your genuine voice? What platforms do you like to use, and do you feel you're really making impact with? And so these are all the different things that we kind of take into account when we've built this a la carte menu of marketing services here at Symphonic that we'll go through in a minute, that you need to be considering when you've got new music out there in the marketplace. It's never an off-cycle world anymore, right? Like it used to be for 2 months leading up to your album, and 6 months after you were in cycle talking solely about your music, and the rest of it you could kind of rest, right? Well, people want to know what you're up to. You don't have to be the guy that shows pictures of your breakfast every morning, or the lady that shows you're walking the dog at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but content that's relevant, conversation that's relevant, live performances now that we're all in the house and we can't go out and see you play on a stage. All those things are stuff that we need to consider. So before we get to the menu, I'll take a break and I'll go through this incredibly active comment stream for just a second, and see what people have been asking. And I apologize if I kind of left you guys hanging here for a minute. So. Some good questions, yeah. As far as us collaborating with other companies outside to build virtual stores and showrooms, I would love that relationship. The depth of the connection that we have to any given release is going to vary, right? But in most cases, that would be the kind of thing we would bring to an artist, connect you to an artist to dive into deeply with themselves and with you and them, rather than anything you're making an agreement with us on. Certainly happy to play middleman and make those connections. So. Yeah, I mean, Adonis, I'll look back here and click through and see if I can find a connect point for you. If you want to, send it in DMs, I'll send you guys an email address that you can send notes like that to. But we are constantly building the list of partners we bring to the table in this conversation, and we are always open to hear new ones. So, forget now, I'm gonna check over here and make sure I've got the rest of my team telling me whether or not you can hear me and all things are going well, and I think we're good. So Adonis, yes, please reach out. I'll let you know. I think probably the easiest email address to do that at is the marketing services at symdistro.com. So just one word, marketing services at symdistro.com. And please send those kind of notes to us. I'll dig in. Mark Gonzalez, a typical marketing campaign for an artist with Symphonic that's just beginning. We're still working on establishing strong social numbers streams versus an established artist. It's a great question. That is sort of the conversation I try to have at the ground floor level with any artist that comes through our application. Let's look at the bullets on the application. I'm going to share the a la carte menu, which is also the click through to the application here in these notes. So as you'll see, that's our list of badass digital marketing services to up your game, quote, end quote. Mark, the first thing that we try to do in a lot of these cases is that first bullet on here, that marketing diagnostic and audience analysis and brand analysis. What that mainly means is that we take a real fine-tooth comb across all your digital surfaces. We used to refer to it as the digital ecosystem, I think is what we kind of called it. I don't know if that term's still relevant, but we look at all of your social media, your website, your presence on the DSPs, any playlisting that you're doing on those DSPs or at YouTube, whatever your ecosystem looks like online, and we make some suggestions on how to streamline it and to make it a cohesive kind of message, so that when anyone hits you at any one of your touch points, they're getting the same information, the same call to action. When you are more tightly in a cycle, like I said, there's no off cycle, but when you are in a release moment, right, that 6 weeks lead time up to a single, the month and a half to 2 months right afterward, when you're really tightly around a release, most of your messaging should involve something about the release. We are in a place where social activity has come to mean a lot more than just selling yourself. And I think that's wonderful. And I encourage a genuine voice with as much activity and as much connection to the things that matter to you as you are comfortable putting out there. But then I also encourage you during an album release cycle to be very focused on pushing your music out too. And most importantly, when you do so, always with a call to action and a link to do something about it. You're going to lose an artist. You're going to lose a fan if they've got to come back later to find out how to get to a point where they can actually activate around their release. So always selling it. But generally, that's a little bit specific. Generally, it's just a complete fine-tooth comb analysis of every single surface you get out there, and a set of marching orders on how to get it streamlined and ready for your release, how to set up that runway, and make sure everything is ready to go. We also dig into your audience and anything we've got access to, either through your Facebook or through your things like Chartmetric, when we get audience analysis on TikTok and Spotify backend and that kind of thing. And we kind of analyze exactly who you're reaching currently, who you are reaching well, what kind of posts are resonating. We also do an analysis of high affinity creators, so that's other artists or brands or whatever the profile is that has similar audience to you. These are the places where you should be out there and doing some of that organic fan mining of commenting to their followers, or making sure that if they've got music up that sounds like your music, you're trying to interact with it and pull some of their fans over to you. These are creators whose audiences are primed for you already. They've already expressed interest in the kind of music you make or the kind of content you create. And so they're the low-hanging fruit for you to go and grab, right? So we look through that. And then in the audience analysis, we also look at notable follower. We do a notable follower analysis is how we refer to it. And that means who in your audience are the biggest influencers? Who do you already have that's going to be able to hit 1,000 people rather than the one that's going to be able to hit 2? And those are the folks you want to engage more deeply with, right? Hit them in a DM and offer something like a signed this or that, or a free piece of merch, because they're pushing your music for you and with you, because they have resonance that some of your audience may not. And all those things kind of happen in that first piece. It's a one-time report we hand you, all marching orders on how you can go off and get everything ready to really be poised for your release. Those are the kind of things that when you've got a brand new artist who really doesn't have a whole lot of presence or a whole lot of following, those kind of things in tandem with our best practices guides are the great place to start. I'm never going to push a brand new artist to spend that heavy meat and potatoes, larger investment in our marketing strategy if I don't think that they're ready for it, or I don't think that it's really going to hit for them right now. I oftentimes will say, let's do this early entry-level piece. Let's do this marketing analysis bit, and then have some of your budget left to do things like digital advertising. That's where you know you're going to pay for actual visibility, right? So I don't think there's any one silver bullet. What does the marketing strategy look like for a developing artist? I think it really is something my team and I try to do, very custom. And that means really digging into, what you look like online, what your presence is already, and kind of what you've got coming, and really sitting down to you and talking through it. That said, the next step down the line, if you have budget for it and you really feel like the content you've got coming is ready for it, is a very detailed and release-specific marketing strategy. And that's where we do dig in with you on a regular basis and build a strategy that brings all those partners to the table. If you've got budget for an influencer campaign, if you've got budget for a custom social filter, if you've got budget for a partner like TuneSpeak who can build a sort of a gamification of the social asks that you've got out there to your audience, win points for sharing X, win points for pre-saving Y. Those kind of partners are great for building an audience kind of, from 6 to 50 rather than 98 to 99 miles an hour, right? Really getting you off the ground to grow in a way that feels organic and feels real and rewards the folks that are already at the table with you. So tough answer. I don't think there's a silver bullet, but to really do it right, it has to be custom, and it has to include advice on how to fine tune what you're already doing, as well as what you're not. And listen, we know more than anything else, content and regular connection to an audience is key. So are there videos coming? Are there live streams coming? Are you out there doing this sort of one-to-one, one-to-many Q&A kind of thing with your audience, answering questions or doing requests if you're comfortable doing it? Do you reward your fans with, face-to-face time in platforms like Looped, or many of the other social media opportunities to do so? So there's so many different levers you can pull, buttons you can push, Mark, that I don't think there's a silver bullet. But we like to be custom. All right, gonna go back here. Yes, I have to keep clicking back and forth. I'm sorry, I'm leaving big long ones out there. Okay, we're gonna bounce past some of these little more technical ones on like getting lyrics onto Instagram and those kind of things. We're looking to have a couple live webinars with some partners on best practices for some of the new applications within these things like Reels, things like a lot of live stream platforms that people are using right now. We're going to try to set some of those sort of Q&A up with individuals from the actual partner that'll have the best answers to those questions rather than me trying to find it and relay it in the right way. So I'm going to bounce past some of those if that's okay today. And Austin, I see your questions about, the support slots and festivals and that kind of thing not existing. We know it, and it's killing everybody, and it's difficult. And there are artists who are finding sort of a way around it that I think once we go back to whatever normal is, will survive and will still be a huge and new thriving part of this business. And that is through live streams, right? That is through platforms like Twitch and StageIt and Topeka and even Instagram Live, your own audience that you've already built, right? There are Patreon ways that you can make money doing so. There are live donation things. There are new donation components you can put together in Spotify as well. That hopefully will supplement some of that until that business comes back to us. It is not an easy solution right now at all. But you really should go out there and research some of these platforms. Audiences want to see your music in the way you can deliver it. And there have been some really cool, full band live stream things that have happened recently, and some just amazing acoustic ones that we've seen some of our really diligent partners doing, and it's great, and it really can help. It'll certainly supplement the connection you can make to the audience when you can't be face-to-face with them, and if you choose the right platforms, it can supplement some of the income too. So, as I said, I hope there's going to be one of those when webinars come quick with some partners that'll be able to help out that way. Great. Good stuff. Thanks, guys. Some answers to some of your questions here too. So make sure you're coming back to this and reading through other people's posts. Also find yourself on the Facebook message groups, man. I get a lot of my answers from that I don't, even though we have very tight-knit connections to a lot of our partners, turnaround time on questions isn't always immediate, right? And some of the questions you don't necessarily get the user perspective on. And so things like, how are Facebook's rules on live streams changing and stuff? There's great answers out there in space that make it a little less scary. But we'll try to bring you as much of those answers as we can too. Info. Okay, some of that's a little bit kind of granular. We'll get to that too. Ray Mech, I'm seeing a Symphonic never responds. What is requirements here? Responds to which? Let me know what you're talking about. I'm happy to answer that. If you are coming through our application for services, we try to review those within 2 to 4 business days. If it's over a weekend, it's going to be a couple days to wait there. But we're trying to review those and get back to you as quickly as possible. If you look through our application, you'll see both the services that I just outlined there, the diagnostic piece, the very detailed release-specific strategy piece. The other 2 points I want to touch on that application, and I apologize if I'm a little all over the place. The other 2 points I want to touch on the application for a la carte services is that depending on the size of the team that you have around you, we also can bring another team member to the table to do some, we call it day-to-day, it's not every single day, but day-to-day social support for you. Someone that can do 3 to 4 posts a week, someone that can do a little bit of that granular fan mining and follower growth stuff. Someone that can cut up the content you've got created into those bite-sized consumable pieces that you use to share on social media, to either tease or to draw people into your YouTube to watch the full thing. All those bits are included in what we call our day-to-day execution and social media operations service. That one is currently at $500 a month for the entry-level one, and a little bit higher if you need a little bit more support than that. That's a killer price, but it's also that way because it's pretty lean. There are other companies that do much more robust hand-holding and fully posting all of your social activity on the regular for you, that are much more expensive than that. We bring this day-to-day piece to the table almost solely if we're the people making the strategy for you as well. So if you're in the pool with us for detailed release-specific strategy, we can bring this other person to the table to help execute on that. We try not to bring that person to the table just for you as a day-to-day support person, because expectations are a little hard to set. If you've got your own strategy, how much you're expecting of the person doing the social posting can be really, really intense and not really appropriate for $500 a month. And so we do have a really good list of other people we can bring to the table for you for that. If you want to do that without engaging us for strategy, and you can do some research on that alone yourselves as well, locally or just kind of abroad. A great list of folks to do that with. And then the last bit on this application is that digital ad strategy component. We've got a gentleman in-house who, for a campaign management fee, will take your budget and spread it across the platforms you've used before, ones you haven't, give you an idea of what is most appropriate. We try to keep the minimum spend there at about $1,000 because he does spend a lot of time putting that strategy together, and anything less than the 20% of that kind of doesn't really meet the time commitment well. And so oftentimes it's going to be, to kind of go back to Mark's question again all over the place, I apologize. It's going to be a combination of all these things. It's going to be what's most appropriate for you and your release at the level you are and at the content you've got coming, and at sort of, what we can look for in terms of content and, the relationship going forward long term. Is it one release that we don't expect to see another one from you? We're going to be less engaged than if we're going to kind of build you toward that bigger release somewhere down the road kind of thing. So, looking back through the... All right, I think I've met questions at the moment. Please feel free to ask some more. And my team, if you're watching and there's anything else you think I ought to be throwing out there, please jump in and ask those questions for me too. Anybody on the Symphonic side that I'm missing? No, I see some of my team are eating donuts and no one sent donuts to me, but I might hold it against them. I am here for any other questions. So that I'm just going to hang. Haven't seen my office in a full web conference view, full webinar view yet. Hey team, ask some of the questions. This is why it's a little different when it's an afternoon session and you can have a beer and interact with people as if we're a happy hour. It's 11:30 a.m. here. I'm gonna have to get my kids lunch in 30 minutes. I can't really take the happy hour at 11 a.m. unfortunately. So more than anything, I just encourage you as you're going through this to look at all of the offerings that Symphonic has in terms of services. A full breadth of creative services from our team here that you can purchase. Great video services that you can purchase. And these ones that we've walked through here as well. AJ, excellent. Thank you for pointing me back to that. The other most important thing you can do for our team, as I mentioned kind of at the beginning, is we are both your marketing team here at Symphonic, and then we're also the folks handling the DSP relationships. We have a form called the Marketing Drivers Form that you'll get in an automated email as soon as you finish signing up. As soon as you load your music into the MS, you get a link to our Marketing Drivers Form. And that form is a pretty thorough one. It takes a little bit of time to fill out, but it is like the most crucial tool in our toolkit. It answers all the questions about your release, whether they be like genre-specific details, mood. It also asks you what else you've got going on, right? What are the drivers around your release? What are the ad budgets you're spending? Do you have publicity and PR? Is there press that you expect? Is there maybe a radio campaign? Do you already have, a live stream on the regular that you're doing and this will support that kind of thing? What are all the events you've got lined up that we've already kind of touched on a little bit here? We ask you to enter all those things into our Marketing Drivers Form, and I'll put that link here in the conversation too, in case you don't have it. But that form lets us lets us craft our pitch for your content at the DSPs. If you've got great things going on, if you've got all kinds of information that's going to blow people out of the water, it's much easier for us to make a case for why they should pay attention to your release. If you don't, that's a point where you may want to engage our services or talk to another outside third-party company that can help you put together a strategy that's going to impress. That marketing drivers form, I can't stress enough how important it is. The minute you've got your music in the MS, go in there and submit every answer you can. And then when something changes, if you get another great visibility driver, if another show comes up, if a live stream comes up, if you're going to have an appearance on television, if you've booked a publicity agent and they've got great press that they expect to come through, when those things come through, you can go in again and update that form. We're launching a new one soon that'll have a much easier way to update, but you can update that form and keep us abreast of all the most recent detail and let us craft a better repitch, right? A better way to go back and say, hey, you ignored this the first time maybe, but here's a better way to do, here's another chance to do so, because this other large exclamation point is happening for them. So please, 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 can't stress enough to fill out that marketing drivers form. Some really good ones, AJ. Gosh, that's a really good question. I think we should probably have like a case study of best practices on the kind of marketing drivers that really impress. But advertising dollars always do. The full video on a track. And being able to know that's being released not only through your Vivo or through your YouTube channel, but also at DSPs that take that video. The where you can get it, a Spotify canvas. A publicity team that is locked in and going to be making noise about your release is always a great one. Team, while I'm at it here, if you want to throw more in here in the mix, please do. But these are the kind of questions that we can help. We do dive deeper into when we're putting strategy together with you. We let you know what kind of events, what kind of drivers really make an impact. And things like that TuneSpeak campaign I mentioned earlier, where things are going to get shared because you're rewarding fans. You've got an evangelist because a remix is coming down the road, and that remixer may have a larger following than you do. These are the kind of events that do make enough make some noise for you that the DSP do pay attention to. So, example of an awesome guerrilla campaign. I mean, there's. I mean, what does guerrilla mean anymore? Are you talking like street marketing? Are you talking guerrilla digital marketing? I even think some of the the filter campaigns and the influencer stuff that's out there, if you can get organic noise happens, feels a lot like a guerrilla campaign, right? Because they're a widespread, diverse group of folks that are evangelizing for you out there in their medium. And so it's hard to say what guerrilla even means anymore. That said, certainly getting out there and getting out there and postering when you've got events coming up. It's so hard now that we don't have events coming up to know the right noise to make that way. Happily bring, Megan, you want to join this one and come up with some of your great examples of guerrilla tactics in there? I'm going to take some thought on that one. I never have the best quick answers on that kind of stuff. To release a remix here, Travis, Todd, you can put a remix through the system. It's just a matter of making sure that the way you set it up properly credits the way the other artist is reflected in it, whether it's just as the remixer, whether it's as a primary artist in there and everything. There are in the MS some good best practices, step-by-steps there too, on creating a release, and I believe there's information on a remix in there as well. I'll go back, Travis, and I'm going to take that one down as an answer to come back to you with. So hold on just a second. The best campaign currently running and what makes it impactful for an artist's fan base. We have done a couple really interesting campaigns right now. The best answer here is similar to what I gave to Mark. It's not one silver bullet for X or Y, right? We've got a campaign happening right now for an electronic artist who had A really creative video coming right off the bat, right? And 2 remixes from artists who have bigger names even than he does. And they had enough budget to put together an advertising campaign, and they had, budget and great creative that I was able to go and get a custom filter built for them to use in Instagram that reflected the single art, and made a lot of noise that way. We were able to then take that tool and talk to a company who put together an influencer campaign for them, high level and mid level influencers, to get out there and use the filter and use the track and all of that. It is resonating really well. The track is blowing up. Their follower growth is blowing up pretty regularly. The video is taking off like nobody's business. And then the great thing is they've got a roadmap for what happens next, right? They've got another remix set up, a video for that remix. We've got a press team on that's able to take each of those successes and make additional noise about it. And so everything works in synergy, right? Finding each of the tactics that fit your release and making them work in synergy is really what we can do with you if the budget is there, or a digital marketing company that you can bring on can do, or if you're savvy enough yourself, you can do. Just bring the right partners to the table. That's probably my favorite one right now. I wish I had AJ here as well. AJ runs our LATAM and world music side, and she has done some interesting things in the LATAM music space that I'm less privy to and would not explain well enough to really get the impact of. But I'll make her run the next one so she can tell you the big ones that she's had in the LATAM space. What else? What's another one we've really cranked recently? It just depends on how much. Frankly, it depends in part on how much budget you bring to the table, but also how much involvement you're bringing to the table. We had a young artist with an incredible R&B song who hit a playlist that really did help her take off, but we were able to then capitalize on that success on an additional video down following it next, right? And influencer stuff there too. It really is like, it's never I know this A, B, and C is going to make you succeed, but once you see A hit, how do I pull B and C to the table to capitalize on that and pour fuel on the fire that we've got from that one success, right? There's no silver bullet, and we can't really give the secret sauce, but we certainly welcome you to please apply to the services section there. And then the first thing we do is sit down to you and talk about what we really can do for you. I am, much to a lot of chagrin here, I'm never the salesman. I'm never selling on you got to spend this much and be at our highest level costs to be worth it to us. We certainly are a business. We certainly, want to make money as much as the next guy, but I want to do what makes sense for you, right? I want to get set up a campaign that's going to make your release resonate and going to grow long tail results for you, going to mean your next release has a bigger runway to go on. Your next album already has a followership set up and a bigger, a bigger release radar the day of your release, because you've already got that algorithm kicking for you at Spotify because of the right number of singles beforehand, and then boom, that release comes down the line. There is no silver bullet. I know that sounds like a cop out, but there just isn't. So. Yeah, I mean that's the truth too there, Travis, is that the plan after release is as important as the strategy leading up to it. When we come on board, I ask that you don't even apply for a full detailed marketing plan if you have less than 4 weeks before your release, in part because it takes us some time to put one together, but also in part, I think that you need at least a 4-week lead time to have a strategy that's successful. So in addition to building it, which takes a little time, actually implementing that runway strategy, the pre-sale, the pre-save, the here's what's coming, the teasers, all of those things, I like to have at least 3 to 4 weeks runway beforehand, and then 8 to 10 after. So it is that after you release, still engaging, making sure that where you do see a fire start, you're pouring fuel on it with whatever way you can. Making sure that you've got ads in the right place, making sure that as that second piece of content comes, you've got additional ads that reference both pieces of content and have a call to action that, further brings a person in and further makes them follow you. Do make sure that whenever you're posting anything about any part of your release schedule, you've given a call to action and a link for them to do so. So if you already have spent time pushing someone to go listen to your music on Spotify, engage them further. Say, follow me on Spotify. Say, follow a playlist on Spotify that you've built that has the new music on it, so that later you can update that playlist with the additional new content that gets released, right? And not just Spotify. Talk about all of your partners. Talk about, we've been told by partners every day that why would we give your release a particular look when the only noise you've ever made on your social media is for Spotify? Be equitable. Share the love across. When you've got something happening on Apple, when you've got something happening on Amazon, if there's a great Pandora channel, like whatever it is, just share the love. Call out different partners. When you hear from us, if you hear from us, which hopefully you'll hear more going forward with some updates that are happening. When you hear you've gotten pickup at a particular DSP on a particular playlist, when that information comes back your way, either from my team or because you've done the research yourself, thank that DSP in social media. Tag that DSP in your posts on social media. Put a link to the release. Put a link to the playlist if you want to. But make enough kind of connection to that it can be seen, right? Being amongst other artists in a playlist like Rising at Tidal, in a playlist like Butter if you're R&B, these playlists where they're really launching artists into that sort of next step of being discovered. You want to be in that category when they put you in there. And so putting a post up that says something like, God, so honored to be on this playlist with X, Y, and Z, and tagging those artists in it really kind of, it provides resonance in a community of great artists, and also makes the DSP see that you're appreciative of it. So those are all good moves to make as well. Yeah, and that's a whole bunch of info. I talk a lot, and I was kind of all over the place, and I apologize if I missed anything. Feel free to shoot questions back here to this thread. I think we could probably still comment on this after it's been archived. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But if you've got other questions that we didn't touch on, please put them in. We'll try to come back to them. There is a link to the services application here in this. There's also a link to our marketing drivers forum. Again, can't stress enough how important that is to what we do. And if there are other things you'd like to hear about, if there's other seminars you'd like us, webinars like this that you'd like us to put together, let us know. We are here to be a community for you all, and we're here to do everything we can to make as much noise about your music as possible. So load up your content, load it up early. Please load it up with 4 weeks lead time. We get it delivered to the DSPs, and certain platforms they'll just have a much better chance with it if it's in there with the lead time, right? 4 weeks is what we're asking for. Please try to give us that much lead time. And the minute you've got it in the system, fill out that marketing drivers form. Don't be afraid to update it when you've got new information too. You're welcome. Marketing team, anything else we should throw out there? Hey, Lexi, there's a good release we've had lately. You're doing terrific. Your content's fantastic. All right. It's getting to feel a little lonely, so I'm going to wrap up and say thank you. Again, let us know if there's more that you need. We will be doing these more regularly. Other members of the team will be jumping in as well. We've got some great experience on this team with backgrounds in independent labels, major labels, their own labels, management teams, Just some great folks at Symphonic with just a huge breadth of experience. Um, I'm a fan of the diversity on this team in particular, and the wide breadth of tactics that these guys have suggested here and there, that are just custom to each release. So you've got an example of a creative video content you've seen. Let me put a link to something that I've loved lately. I mean, going back to the last electronic release that I mentioned, an artist named Riotron, Canadian artist whose track "I'm Sorry" was, I mean, he's going to describe it better than I do, but it was kind of an apology from Canada to the U.S. on how can we be better friends with one another, and it was pretty hilarious. And the video included Tom Green, if you remember Tom Green, who's a Canadian comedian actor who had some really amazing MTV content in like the late 90s and early aughts, I think it was. But Tom Green was featured in the video, and you got to go watch it. It's a really interesting video. I can't really describe it well enough here. But what it did was it lended itself to great teaser content, and it lended itself to a great remix video when the remix for the track came out. And it had moments that you could grab stills from that you could really make influencer content around too. Can we get this great point where this dancing Statue of Liberty is just in front of fireworks, and they're dancing next to a dancing Washington Monument, and God, it just lended itself so much to like go do that on TikTok and show us your TikTok dance to this kind of thing. The content should be genuine to the artist and genuine to the release, but it also should feel like it's left itself open for engagement where possible. You shouldn't force it ever, but like there are so many creative people out there right now that are doing side-by-sides and versions of and dance contests around, and leaving your content open to as much of that as possible, if it's appropriate, is terrific. But also finding something that feels genuine to you, something that relays. There's a great new video coming out from a developing artist we're working with called Marco, who the song is so personal and kind of dark, and a big video would have felt, it would have felt strange to have some sort of big epic kind of story tale video there, and so instead it's just him and the camera, and it's really engaging. I won't give away the secrets to what it's about, but it's really neat and draws you in really, really tightly. And then on the flip side, we're working with an artist called Salika, who has a video that's filled with beautiful choreography and incredible shots that just like draw you in, and you're you can't look away from it, and a neat cameo from a pretty solid actor also. So there's no, it's like anything else. I love doing things like this, but then I hate them too, because there is no answer, hey, what should I do? It totally depends on your release, and it totally depends on who you are, and it totally depends on what you're genuinely comfortable doing and being out there in social media. But those are a few good examples. And if you go back to, if you follow Symphonic on Facebook and Instagram, I think our corporate team does a really good job of calling out those videos when we have a partner releasing them, and linking you to them. So follow that and take notes and learn from what your partners or your friends in this community are doing. There's no shortage of really, really great ideas. And if you're in this room and I left you out, I apologize. Lexi's got a really cool video coming down too. But again, like not everyone is a person with a ballerina who can create these incredible visuals like landscapes for their tracks. So it has to be true to you. It has to be what you're about. And I would suggest for you, as long as it doesn't feel forced, to leave it open to be engaged with by influencers and general content creators out there. Also, if you're at a place where you've got a really engaged community already, I have been a part of some really great videos where fan content has been asked for, and then mushed together to create an amazing experience that included 300 posts from fans, right? A little harder to do. You can run into some sort of legal issues if you're using content, depending on the age of the contributor and that sort of stuff, that you do want to be wary of and just thoughtful if you're doing that kind of thing. But like asking your fans to post their favorite lyric. Like, man, some really cool things have happened that way. Megan, if you've got other thoughts, put them in too. It's a good question. Those are some of the ones that I'm most fond of lately. And right now, there's also there's this cool band that we don't work with, but I'm friends with, called Jared and the Mill, who just put out a vertical video where they did exactly that. They filmed the bottom or top half of a video, and then asked their fans on TikTok and Instagram Live to film the other half, right? And then they cut the two together so that throughout the whole video, it's the top of the lead singer's face with the bottom of a fan's face singing, or he's making the facial expressions of a guitar solo while someone else is faking a guitar solo on bottom, and vice versa. So creative, right? And so engaging. And the way you've got a full complement of evangelists ready for you because they've participated in the video. They want to share it because they're in it from day one. It is invaluable. And that's just a really great way, again, if appropriate, not forced, to get your community shouting for you right away. It's a nice one to, I think it was Travis's point earlier about having both a lead up and a follow through, that the lead up is a social engagement opportunity in itself, right? You've put your tops or bottoms out there and said, go mess with them. And that engages along the way. And then boom, once it happens, you've got the video to release. You can release 4 different versions of it. You can let your fans go and release their own versions on social media for it, right? You are glomming together all of the organic creation out there that's happened into something that your fans feel included in. Your fans feel like they matter to you. If it works, if it's natural, if it makes sense, I can't suggest it enough. Thank you, Megan. Good question. Anybody else? All right, stay safe. Stay indoors. Wear a mask. I got political there. I apologize. Wear a mask. Just wear a mask. And be smart. And go live. Get on Instagram Live. Play your songs. Play them live. Don't pre-record them and play them live right now until that gets all sorted out. But also go and look at the answers for that. Don't just believe what somebody posted that says we're all going to get our profiles taken down if we go live. There's really good information out there. Look for it. There's a couple great artist groups and manager groups and independent artists doing their own thing groups on Facebook that answer these kind of questions for you every day, which is really neat. So go and find those. One called AMP. My team. Anybody else have a good suggestion for an artist group? Or even if you're not on my team, if you're in there and you have other groups you resonate with, put them in here so other folks can bounce on them. And that's about it. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks for asking questions. Thanks for being here. We'll see you again soon.